Okay, in this lesson we've got a combination of a couple of influences. First of all, our riff is based on a Chicago sound derived from Howlin Wolf and Hubert Sumlin's work on Killin' Floor, and later on Rockin Daddy from the London Sessions album. There, Hubert Sumlin played the riff primarily, and Clapton the solo work, and so we've got kind of a combination of that here, as well as a slightly different chord progression. So originally, just to kind of go over this to begin with, in the riff it was split between two guitars, whereas one guitar would play this first figure and then carry on, moving up higher maybe to the root, and sustaining or adding in other short ideas, whereas the other guitar player would play something like that. Here, though, we're combining the two, so of course one person could play it. So first of all, let's think in terms of an E-shape G7 chord, sliding into the third and first string notes, and that would be as follows. Then moving down to a pitch which is actually part of this position in the arpeggio of the 7th chord. So there we are, going for that pitch, and then moving up the scale to go to the flat 7 or the minor 7. Now, to keep things interesting, we want to get a theme and variation going. So we'll do it again, but on the second time, instead of going to the minor 7, we'll go to the root and damp that as well. Also, I'm palm muting the bass. So with the theme and variation, we've got the following. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about the introduction. The introduction is really important in this type of music because it can get repetitious starting in the first measure and repeating consecutive 12-bar choruses. So one way to alleviate that is to begin elsewhere, and what's real typical is to start in the 11th bar. So that's what we're doing with some octave damps, also from the E-shaped position. I'm using my first and fourth fingers so that my second finger is available to embellish this octave. So first of all, on beat 1, we'll hit it straight and damp it. On the upbeat of beat 2, though, we'll go over here to the minor 7, play a couple sixteenths on that, and then move back up to the full octave. And again, remember to, or if I haven't mentioned it, to damp the 5th string when you're doing that, and I'm doing that with a pad of my index finger. So far it's... From there we go to our 5 chord, which is based on a C shape, come in on the upbeat of beat 1, and damp 8th notes for the rest of the measure. So let's hear that and go into the riff that we have. Moving on from there, we got to go to the 4 chord, as the blues does. So let's move, 12-bar blues that is, let's move up to that position, E shape again, and we'll play exactly the same thing as we did before on the 1 chord, just higher. So that's sliding into the 9th fret. And then we return and play another 2 bars as before on the G7. Now at this point, I've changed the chord progression from the original, which would go to a D7 and then a C7, to instead go to A7 and D7. And the way we're going to do that is by playing a bass string oriented riff or arpeggio, as opposed to the type of riff we were playing before. So we're going to use a slightly different fingering to make this easier. That is, the chord is at the 5th fret, but we'll finger at the 4th fret so we can reach into some other things. So first of all, for the A7, we've got the root, go into the minor 3rd, and then into the 3rd, root and minor 7, back to the root, now change to the D chord, D7 on the upbeat of beat 4, and then start moving down into the G position because that's the next coming chord. So we're here for that. And now a descending line. And then there's a rest, and then again on the upbeat of beat 3, coming right up, this is measure 12 we're talking about, we'll go back to that same idea of embellishing the octave with a couple sixteenths on the upbeat of beat 4, beat 3 that is, going to beat 4. So far, those last 4 bars, here's what we've got. And that's how our basic rhythm riff is addressed.